Hi, I'm Ron, and welcome to PopScicle, where I talk about popular culture, science, and everything in between. Now, if you've been following my YouTube channel, you would have noticed that there's a new addition to my background, and that's over there. A poster from the B album of BTS. Yes, that means that I am a new fan of the group. I'm a baby army, as the people would call new fans of the group, and I've been consuming so much BTS material over the last few months to be able to catch up to what I've missed ever since they debuted several years ago. I've liked their music for quite some time now, but it wasn't until the release of B where I really became a fan and started going back through their catalog and listening to all of their albums. And I'm still in the process of catching up to the material that's out there. I won't. I'm not expecting to be able to, go through all of them anytime soon, but I'm trying my best. And of course, in the course of my research and my going through the music of this great group that we love. I mean, those who are listening, I'm assuming that you're fans of the group also. I've encountered several uh, of, of their collaborations with other artists. Of course, we're familiar with several of the more popular ones, like Boy with Love with Halsey, and Mic Drop with Steve Aoki, and collaborations with Sia and Nicki Minaj, and who else? You have Troye Sivan and Love and several other artists. And I love collaboration. Some of the songs that I like in the albums of other artists that I follow are collaborations. There's always something fantastic about the blending of different voices that you don't normally hear coming together, especially when they're coming from two different genres that you wouldn't normally, think of being combined in such a good way. And the same goes for BTS. I love the collaborations that BTS has had, particularly Boy with Love with Halsey. I especially like those ones where the voice of the artist that they're collaborating with is distinct and is really clearly set apart from everyone else's, and it's a good harmony that they show with BTS. And I'm excited to think about what other collaborations the boys can end up having, and I'm sure you guys are as well. And so I decided to come up with my first BTS related video, and that's my top 10 dream collaborations with BTS. Meaning, these are the musicians that I hope and wish BTS would collab with in the near future, because I believe that they would make such great music together. But also, it would be good for BTS in some way, maybe in terms of expanding their musical repertoire, for example. Um, it's not, to be clear, it's not to legitimize BTS. They don't need that anymore. They're global superstars. And in fact, some of the artists in my list, you can argue, are not as popular as BTS, so it's not as if BTS needs them. But it's more like what I think will make such a great sound for fans, and maybe, hopefully, expand also the fandom of BTS. Convert some people who are in the fence as to liking or not the music of BTS. It might make them reconsider when they hear their own favorite artists collaborating with BTS. And also, I took into account what BTS themselves have said in interviews about their dream collaborations. That's going to be one of my considerations when I give you this list of top 10. But before I go into my top 10 dream collaborations with BTS, I'll mention a few that I didn't quite put in my top 10, but I'd still want to see them anyway with BTS. The first is a group or a group of names of female artists that I believe would be fascinating to see collaborating on a song with BTS. One is Lady Gaga, who's pretty obvious, and I believe there are plans for Lady Gaga to work with BTS. That would be very interesting to hear. Particularly because Lady Gaga has already collaborated with another K-pop superstar group, which is Blackpink, and it was a good collaboration. I am also interested in or excited to hear what BTS would sound like with someone like Alicia Keys, who's of course one of the pillars of the R&B uh, music genre, and uh, this is a genre, this is a sound that BTS has been incorporating into a lot of their songs over the years, and I'd especially like to see how it is with Alicia Keys playing the piano, and maybe uh, Suga playing the piano also, right? We all know that he likes playing the piano, and also another female artist that I'm interested in seeing collaborating with BTS is Shakira. Um, Everyone knows how danceable, how energetic Shakira's songs are, which would be a perfect fit for the energy that BTS has, especially because in some of their songs they've been going into some Latin flavored pop. I'm particularly interested in seeing a duet between Shakira and Jimin, who is my bias, to be honest. Especially because Jimin has done Filter, which has Latin sounds, Latin pop sensibilities. And so it would be interesting to see how he and Shakira work together, especially with the dance moves, which Jimin is very well known for. And one other female is Robin, who you probably know as a Swedish, superstar for electropop, synth pop, which are also some genres that BTS has been going into. So it would be really fascinating to hear what kind of sound they do together. I'm not sure about the likelihood of any of this happening. Probably among those four, the likeliest would be Lady Gaga. The second group now of honorable mentions is a group of men who I can imagine in a collab with BTS would be like an eighth member who would harmonize with them. At least that's the hope. I don't think we've had uh, a collab where the male artist really stands out like as if he were a temporary eighth member of BTS. I don't think we've had that. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it would be exciting to hear what Bruno Mars or Justin Timberlake or Justin Bieber or Harry Styles would sound like in such a song where they don't just sing one stanza and then it's done, but they're really incorporating their own style into the music, into the song, and then they're blending their voices. That would be amazing to see. Particularly maybe Bruno Mars and Harry Styles. But it would be I've heard a mashup done by a fan between Justin Bieber and Jungkook, and it sounded really great the way their voices complemented each other. So it would be fascinating to hear how that will work. And Justin Timberlake, we all know that BTS have expressed their admiration of NSYNC, which of course includes Justin Timberlake. So that would be nice. Hopefully that pans out. Any of those, maybe of those four, the likeliest would be maybe Justin Bieber, because Justin Bieber has been known to say good things in public about BTS. I would also like to mention Dolly Parton. I'm sure you know that in a certain performance of Dolly Parton, Jungkook ended up crying because he was so emotionally invested and affected by the performance. And after that, a series of tweets from BTS and from Dolly Parton herself teased a collab. Never really saw, the light of day. But we don't know. We don't know what's going on. Maybe they are talking about it. That would be fascinating to see, because Dolly Parton is unabashedly country, which is a genre that BTS hasn't really touched, except during their performance in the 2019 Grammy Awards. But that didn't sound too much like country. So it would be fascinating to hear how they would work with Dolly Parton. And it would be so cute to see Jungkook interacting with Dolly Parton after how we've seen he's affected by the music of Dolly Parton. And finally, a last honorable mention, which you will consider weird, and I'm going to completely understand because I myself find it weird. But off the top of my head, I just suddenly thought, how would BTS sound with Bjork? It's not too strange given that Bjork popularized electropop, which is something that BTS has been doing a lot. And Bjork is very eclectic. She's very experimental in terms of her sound. She has been dabbling in so many different oral landscapes. So it would be fascinating, right, to hear how her voice, her signature voice, and how her type of music works with BTS. It That's probably the unlikeliest of all the names, all the potential collabs that I'll be mentioning in this list. But you know, it's just interesting to think about. So before I go on to my top 10, I'd like to tell you that I'm going to give you an indication of what I think is the likelihood of any of these collaborations actually happening. So for this, I'm going to use a Likert scale, which is from 1 to 5. And you can see it here. 1 means highly unlikely, 2 means unlikely, 3 means somewhere between likely and unlikely, so it's somewhat neutral. 4 is likely, and then a score of 5 means highly likely. So you're going to see me show this Likert scale and with a particular number on the scale for each of the collaborations that I'm going to talk about. So now let's go into my top 10. At number 10 in my dream collaborations with BTS is Blackpink. So I am sure that some of you are reacting negatively. If you are, well, then that's coming from a toxic place that I am not a fan of. I have never really understood why you cannot be a vocal fan of both groups. It's just like the Marvel DC thing. You can be a fan of the MCU movies while still being a fan also of the DCEU movies, or vice versa. There doesn't have to be competition. There is competition in terms of sales, I suppose, but not in terms of fandom. There doesn't have to be. I'm more of an ARMY than a Blink. I don't consider myself a Blink, although I do like the songs of Blackpink, especially their latest album, the album. And I can't help but think what sort of sonic masterpiece BTS and Blackpink would be able to come up with if they work together. Just one song, please. Maybe during a benefit concert, something like that. It would be easier to imagine them collaborating on stage for one song, possibly with other K-pop groups as well, rather than them sitting down in a recording studio working together, all 11 of them. But it would be easier to imagine as well one of the BTS boys, maybe Suga, producing a track from one of the girls or two of the girls or all four of them, something like that. But in any shape or form, a collaboration between Blackpink and BTS would make the internet explode. That would be the biggest thing out of music in a long, long time. And depending on the way they would package it, the way they would talk about it, about if they show mutual respect to each other while making it clear that there's no place for shipping, which a lot of people don't like, I think it can work. Now, I don't really know about the relationship between YG and Big Hit. They are part of a group of different studios or companies that came together. But it's BTS and Blackpink don't talk about each other, and that's principally because they don't want the toxic fans to start spewing out stuff that we'd rather not hear. That's understandable, but it's sad that it has come to that point, because we all know how beautiful the music could be that they could come up with together. So let's hope. But in terms of likelihood, I'll give this a 2 out of 5. They work in the same industry. They're not fighting with each other. It's the fans that are problematic. So maybe, again, a song of Blackpink produced by someone from BTS, or a joint performance live on stage, that could work. But that would explode the internet, definitely. At number 9 is the Queen of Pop, Madonna. Madonna is a reinventor. She constantly reinvents herself, and she has dabbled in so many different sounds. For me, my favorite Madonna album is Ray of Light. in which she was able to showcase her vocal range and experiment with very experimental sounds of synth pop and electro pop and EDM and even some Indian music, very mystical. Now that's not necessarily the sound that I envisioned she would have with BTS. Maybe they'd go for a more traditional pop type of sound together, but it's interesting. They've met and there's mutual respect there, mutual affection. Madonna isn't always the type who would express appreciation for other artists, as you would know if you've been following her career, but she's very warm toward this group of young men who she has definitely heard of and has some level of respect for, given how great how great they are as performers. And that's something that we can always say about Madonna even up to now. She's a fantastic performer. Age hasn't slowed her down. It would be very, very interesting to see what type of sound they would be able to come up with together. I mean, maybe it's going to be a traditional pop sound, or maybe something in the vein of Ray of Light, which is more electro pop. Regardless of what it is, it's going to be an amazing collaboration. And while I did say that BTS doesn't need legitimization in the music industry, having the Queen of Pop herself collaborating with them will just, make them even more popular and make them even more established in the music industry than they already are. So it's a win-win. And of course, Madonna will get new fans as well. Not that she needs it either. Duh, she's a Queen of Pop. She's a real icon. But both of them will stand to benefit from it. In terms of likelihood, I'll give this a 3 out of 5. They've met, they've had a conversation, but I'm thinking there's no formal conversation going on in terms of a collab. But, it's not unlikely. It's somewhere neutral. Hopefully there are talks and we just don't know about it. Because that would be so amazing. Even if it was, just like with Blackpink earlier, it's just a collaboration on stage, which is usually what Madonna does. Like you can probably remember her iconic collab with Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. I believe that's in the MTV Music Awards. I'm not sure, but if she's able to do that with BTS, I'm sure we'd all die to see that. Now, for number 8, this is something that we've been hearing about for so long. This has been teased for so many times, and there actually has been some sort of collaboration, but not the type that we'd like to see. I'm talking about Zedd. I put him here in this list because I'm not particularly into EDM, but I love his collabs where there's an artist lending vocals to his tracks, particularly Clarity and Stay the Night. Clarity even won or was nominated for a Grammy. And so I'm just fascinated with the idea of what kind of a sound they would be able to make together. And there has been mutual respect shown in interviews. Zedd has said in interviews quite clearly that he wants to work with BTS, and BTS has said, yes, let's do that. There was an interview where all the boys said that they'd like to work with Zedd.
I want to collaborate with Zedd. I love Zedd.
Come on, Zedd. Me too. Yeah, me for Zedd. Give it up for Zedd.
I love Zedd.
Yeah, me too. I love Zedd.
Other members?
Zedd.
Seriously?
Come on, Zedd. I think Zedd.
It's a marriage made in heaven in terms of the sound that we'd come to expect, because it's the type of genre that BTS has been doing so well in. Now, what I said earlier about there having been some sort of collaboration, that was in the 2018 Ultra Music Festival, where Zedd sampled Fake Love. Fascinating, but again, it's not a true collaboration in the sense where we see all 8 of them coming together on stage or being in the same studio recording a song together. And that's what's so great about that organic relationship between Steve Aoki and BTS, or between Halsey and BTS. So hopefully we'll be able to hear that soon. I think in terms of likelihood, this is one of the likeliest. I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Hopefully it's not a one and done thing where Zedd sampled Fake Love in that festival and that was done. Hopefully there's going to be a true collaboration sometime in the future, because that's definitely going to be a dance hit. And it will undoubtedly be a great sound. We can't have a top 10 dream collabs with BTS if we don't mention one of their idols. The rap line is obsessed with Eminem. So at number 7, I'm putting Eminem. The rap line has stated that they've watched his concert together. I think the first album that they ever purchased with their own money was an Eminem album. I'm not sure about the vocal line, but for the rap line, that's the case. But I think even for the vocal line, there's a clear respect for Eminem, which even brought to light some, I wouldn't call it funny. There were some memes in the internet which asked, what if Eminem disses BTS? How would the army react? They wouldn't react nicely about it, I'm pretty sure. But I don't think that will happen. I'm hoping it won't happen. I don't think he has ever spoken about BTS. I'm pretty sure he knows BTS. I hope he does. Because otherwise, why would he be clueless about such a big group? Which makes me doubt the likelihood of this collaboration ever happening. But it's going to be phenomenal. Whatever they come up with. Just imagine the boys in our rap line collaborating on a song with Eminem. Whether it's a cipher or a more positive type of song, and then you put in, or well, the vocal line doesn't even have to be there, but of course we'd wish all 7 of our boys to be able to collaborate with Eminem. I am not a big fan of rap, although hearing the rap line over the past few months has been making me appreciate it more, because our rap line boys are so good, right? But this is one of the most exciting prospects. Eminem working with our boys, working with BTS, because BTS will be so happy about it, and of course we want our boys to be happy, right? But also because they will have the chance to work with one of the best rappers ever, right? So in terms of likelihood, I'm giving this 2.5 right now, because again, Eminem has never talked about them. I don't know about his level of familiarity with BTS. However, we are pretty sure that the producers want it to happen, at least on the BTS side. But the people working with Eminem have likely heard about this interest and this fandom among BTS, and they probably want to make it happen also. We don't even know. Maybe there are some talks going on already. Let's keep our fingers crossed, because that's going to be one of the most phenomenal collaborations ever. If you talk about EDM and successful collaborations, I think one of the best duos that BTS could end up working with is Daft Punk. Given how great Daft Punk is in synthesizing their music with that of other artists, with highlighting the strengths of the vocal strengths of other artists in their tracks, like when they worked with Pharrell on the track Get Lucky, or The Weeknd on the track Starboy. You may remember that Random Access Memories, which was one of their best and most awarded albums, was chock full of collaborations. Of course, Daft Punk is known for house, EDM, synth pop, which are again types of music that BTS has been going into and has been doing really well. This is another collaboration that could explode in radio and online. You can just imagine the visuals, right? Have you ever seen a Daft Punk music video? If it's not anime inspired, it's an explosion of colors, which is also something that we've seen with BTS music videos. If for the music video alone, it would be a dream to see a collab between Daft Punk and BTS. But then if you think about the type of music they can come up with, uh, how much of a dance pop modern classic it would be, and how much we would bop to it. Uh, I think it's going to be hard to argue against the type of beauty that they could come up with together. So let's hope. But in terms of likelihood, I'd have to give this a 2.5 because as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, there's been hardly any conversations between their groups. Daft Punk hasn't really talked about BTS, but then again, I don't think we've ever heard Daft Punk talk, right? That's not their style. But Daft Punk has been collaborative with many artists, especially artists who are quite popular at the moment, which is why they collaborated with Pharrell, then they collaborated with The Weeknd fairly recently. So it's not in the realm of impossibility, and that's what explains the 0.5 instead of the 2. Remember, the 2 means unlikely. So I'm not saying it's unlikely, but it's not likely either. Hopefully that changes over time. At number 5 is a Canadian pop icon, and this is Carly Rae Jepsen. Now, I don't know how many fans there are of Carly Rae Jepsen among the ARMY. I don't know the extent of the overlap between the fandoms. I myself am not a super big fan of Carly Rae Jepsen, although when I heard her album Emotion, I was converted. I think that it's one of the best pure pop albums in a long time. It's so well made. And if you just want to hear bubblegum pop and some variations of pop, but pure pop, it's one of the best ones you can get a hold of from recent years. And so I can't help but imagine what type of pure, soft, mellow pop sound BTS and Carly Rae Jepsen could come up with if they decided to work together. I think it would be very interesting to hear how the vocals would, blend with Carly Rae Jepsen's, and what type of an infectious, danceable pop tune they could come up with, because that's ultimately what drew me to Carly Rae Jepsen's music. That's what characterizes a lot of the tracks in Emotion. And a lot of the tracks that I like in BTS albums are also the pop ones. So, yeah, I'm hoping for this collab, but I'm not expecting it. In fact, I'd like to correct what I said earlier. This is the one that's least likely, I think. In fact, I'm giving it a 1.5 in the Likert scale, meaning it's almost completely unlikely, given that there's no buzz or connection at all. I searched on Google and I found no instance of BTS talking about Carly Rae Jepsen or vice versa, and nothing that connects them. But I myself would like to see this collaboration happen in the near future. So please make it work, whoever's listening that's connected to either one of them. At number 4, we have a rock band that has been teasing some sort of collaboration with BTS for quite some time, starting with when the vocalist tweeted Charlie Puth to ask about how it is to work with BTS. And I'm sure you know by now who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Adam Levine and the rest of Maroon 5. So, we haven't heard our boys go into a very rock song except when they covered Jungle for Coca-Cola just very recently. So, I think a lot of the ARMY are interested and excited to hear more rock sounds from BTS. You can only imagine how probably V and Jungkook in particular would sound on a rock song. Just thinking about it excites you, right? And then combine that with the pop rock sensibilities of Maroon 5. Maybe even think about the high notes of Jimin and the high notes of Adam Levine coming together. Bliss, right? Musical bliss. And Maroon 5 is fun. They know how to have fun, as they've shown in collaborations with Christina Aguilera, for instance. They know how to have fun with other artists. And I think Adam Levine's stint in The Voice as a judge has just made him appreciate it more. Remember that a lot of the performances they have in The Voice are collaborations with other artists. I wish we had seen such a collaboration with BTS performed in The Voice. But let's hope that those teasing tweets and the appearance of BTS in The Voice and Taeyong saying that he wants to collaborate with Maroon 5 and Jungkook singing Lost Stars, and all of these things are indicative of a collaboration in the near future. In terms of likelihood, I'm giving this a 4 because of all of these things that I've mentioned and Adam Levine being quite collaborative by nature. So it's likely. I hope that I'm right. Let's hope that I'm right, because I'm sure that all of you would like to hear a BTS song with Maroon 5 or even with just Adam Levine. We have BTS being the kings of K-pop. I would love to hear them having a collab with the queen of J-pop, Utada Hikaru. I love Utada Hikaru. She's one of my favorite J-pop artists. And I spent a lot of the 90s and 2000s and up to now really being a fan of J-pop. More than K-pop, actually, I only learned to appreciate K-pop very recently. I've always been a J-pop fan, principally because of my love for anime. I love Ayumi Hamasaki, Angela Aki, and of course, Utada Hikaru. And Utada Hikaru has been experimenting with many different sounds over the years. She's been doing pop, R&B, okay? And so I can't help but imagine what type of song she would be able to come up with BTS. They share a lot of sensibilities. You know, there are a lot of similarities between J-pop and K-pop in terms of the overall flavor and then the history behind those industries. There haven't been a lot of J-pop K-pop collaborations. There are of course K-pop groups with Japanese artists in them. But in terms of big collaborations, whether on stage live or in terms of a studio track, please help me think of some. Please put them in the comments below, but I can't think of any right now. Someone as explosively big as BTS and someone as explosively big as Utada Hikaru coming together, wouldn't be too exciting for the whole world. Utada Hikaru had a chance to be big when she came up with her English language album. It didn't pan out as well as we had hoped it would. But still, Utada Hikaru is a well-respected figure in the music industry worldwide, so it would still be exciting to a lot of people. Now, in terms of likelihood, I'd have to sadly give this a 2 out of 5 only, because just like with Carly Rae Jepsen, there has been no connection between the two, at least none that I could find online. There's been no buzz at all. And again, J-pop and K-pop collaborations are quite rare, although they do work in the same field, and Korean acts usually go to Japan, and in fact, they have training in the Japanese language to be able to make it into the J-pop field. They even sometimes perform in Kohaku Utagasen, the New Year's Eve party. Some of them have, like BoA, for example. BTS never has. Maybe they're too big for it. I don't know. But there have been tensions between the J-pop and K-pop fields as well, historically, even between Japan and Korea. Hopefully, BTS and Utada Hikaru will be able to overcome these, hurdles and be able to come up with work together. Number 2 might surprise you. It's not exactly something new. It's not I myself who is the only one who has come up with idea. In fact, there was an article in Vibe.com, as you can see here, which has included this artist as one of the dream collaborations with BTS. And in fact, when I first came up with this list, this artist was quite low in the rankings, but then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, no, this would be an excellent collaboration. And so I ended up putting her in number 2, and this is Janelle Monáe. Now, if you haven't heard Janelle Monáe's music, please correct that right away, because she's one of the most amazing, intelligent, brilliant, creative, innovative artists out there. Not only is she a great actress, she is a great musician. She's been doing funk soul, jazz, electropop, synth pop, and these are sounds that our boys have been doing, right? BTS has been doing. Some of the best songs in BTS albums are the funky ones, and Janelle Monáe does that excellently. And then add to that some of the best tracks that Janelle Monáe has in her albums, particularly in The Electric Lady, which is her second album, and in my personal opinion, her best. The best tracks have been collaborations. With who? With Erykah Badu, with Solange, and on the track Electric Lady. With Prince, before he passed away. Janelle Monáe was able to collaborate with Prince, and in all of these 3 tracks, she was able to blend her sound so well with her collaborating artist. And so I can't help but think what type of sonic masterpiece she would be able to come up with if she collaborates with BTS. And also, it's not only going to be in terms of the melody, it's going to be in terms of the music, because BTS has a lot of messages in their songs, very powerful, useful messages. And so, and we can say the same about Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe advocates for a lot of things in her songs, particularly black rights. And we know that BTS is very cognizant of these issues and has spoken about them and has contributed to them in terms of donations, right? So they are both important artists who say a lot in their songs. And so it would be amazing for them to come together and come up with a song that speaks a very important message to a big group of people. A song of empowerment. Both Janelle Monáe and BTS have been known to have songs about empowerment. I don't know if Janelle Monáe and BTS have been talking. I don't know if they talked backstage at the Grammys. We did see a video of BTS bopping to the performance of Janelle Monáe, but then again, who wouldn't? She's such a great performer, and so it would be great to see them on stage together, all 8 of them. But there is respect there. I don't know about Janelle Monáe's perceptions on BTS. But right now, I'm going to give this collab a likelihood score of 3.5, if only because people have been talking about it. They're not strangers to each other, and I'd like to believe that talent draws talent. It's not. I'm not the only one who has thought of what type of fantastic music they could come up with together. So maybe it just has to reach them. Maybe these opinions just has to reach the people behind BTS, the people behind Janelle Monáe, so that they could start really seriously talking about it. Because it would be awesome. It would be wonderful. And finally, at number 1 is the man himself, Paul McCartney. So we've seen BTS sing Hey Jude on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. We've seen in this interview with BBC Radio, Suga talking about wanting to collaborate with Paul McCartney and getting into song.
Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney!
Sir, we love. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be.
We've heard in an interview in a podcast with Paul McCartney mentioning BTS without necessarily being prompted about it, mentioning them as artists that he watches and that he's aware of.
For me, it's like, just seeing some young kids go through what we went through. BTS, the Korean guys. I like watching them, seeing what's going on. And I think they're good, like I said, I couldn't sing one of their songs, but I like that.
BTS are fans of the Beatles. There have been comparisons made given the records that they've matched with the Beatles, such as having 3 number 1 albums in the span of 1 year. I'm not going to go into a debate of comparing the two, Beatles and BTS. They're very different in terms of their sound. They're very different in terms of their contexts in particular. So I'm not going to go into a debate like that. They're important in their own ways. Of course, the Beatles are icons of music and legends of music. Um, it like I said earlier, we're not looking for these collabs to legitimize BTS. Although it won't hurt for BTS to be able to collaborate with such a legend, still carrying the name of the Beatles, who BTS has been compared to favorably. And so, it can only work in BTS's favor in terms of increasing not only their popularity but also their reputation in the music industry, because whatever Paul McCartney touches turns to gold, and that includes collaborations. And like we said earlier, BTS hasn't been doing a lot of rock tunes. They've been doing a lot of pop rock, which Paul McCartney does also. But Paul McCartney is a music icon for many different reasons, including his songwriting. So it would be interesting to see what kind of song they would come up with together in terms of writing them together, because it's possible that Paul McCartney would agree to do a song with BTS that BTS and their songwriters and producers would compose themselves. But it's an even more exciting prospect to come up with a song that Paul McCartney also has a hand in writing. What kind of a song would they be able to come up with together? Paul McCartney's more traditional sounds with BTS's more inventive styles. It's actually pretty hard to imagine, but that doesn't mean that we aren't sure that whatever they come up with as a final product will be nothing short of miraculous. And again, this is something that's going to make the internet explode. Just news of them coming together and collaborating on a track would excite everyone who likes good music and is not a hater of BTS or Paul McCartney. But I don't know if he has haters. So anyone who would appreciate good music, something exciting in music, would look forward to such a collab. In terms of likelihood, I'm giving this a 4 because of the mutual respect that they've shown each other. And we can be pretty sure that there have been talks of some sort. Maybe not necessarily between Paul McCartney and BTS themselves, but between their producers, maybe between their studios or their managers. There is something going on there. So I'll give it a likelihood score of 4, meaning likely. And let's pray that it's as likely as I think it is, or even more likely. So those are my top 10 dream collaborations with BTS, with some honorable mentions. What are yours? I'm sure that you have your own that I wasn't able to mention. So let's hear from you. Let's keep it positive. I hope we can keep it positive even if you disagree with some of what I mentioned in my video. So if you like this video and you would like to see more on BTS and on other things on popular culture, science, and everything in between, don't forget to subscribe to PopScicle so that you may be alerted to new content in the future. See you again next time!